Okay, thank you. And just to reiterate the point that we have a safe space policy, encouraging everyone to respect one another's views, offer your own views, and for other people to receive those views with an open mind and an open heart, and to be positive and supportive of each other. We're now going to carry on the discussion that we were having before the break around lesbian, transgender, Muslim identities, and how that fits in with, say, secularism, for example, or not. And now we're going to have a small contribution from Azzah, who is from Amsterdam, but also Paris. And you're going to be speaking in English.
Yeah, I have to.
I think the majority would prefer it because my translation is struggling.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Azzah, and here says Bon Mali, which is the name I was born with. I was born in 1970, so now I'm 43 years old. And I was born as an intersex baby, so at the age in the 1970s, from a Moroccan mother and an Egyptian father. My mother was, she didn't want to have an intersex baby because she doesn't know what it is. So she brought me to, speak up, there's no microphone. She brought me to, she was getting a child in an orphan house, and there I was until my first year. Then I got adopted by my family, and that is the family de Riquet de Karim de Chimay. So that is what that's actually my name. What Mali says here, but my mother was not really happy with a child with an intersex condition, so I don't have that name in my passport. I will start. You questioned me, where are you from and what? I support HMSF from actually the 110, donc 2010, where I spoke at the first conference in Paris, in Paris, about being transgender et being Islamic. At that time I was married and I was in a very secular marriage. So I was obliged to wear the hijab, and I also have been obliged to wear niqab from time to time. Now I am just divorced, and you see another transformation. Cheers. You're liberated. Liberty. Yeah, that's a big liberation. Yeah, definitely. Well, I continue the story. I've been brought up in the south of France, in the Luberon, in a little village called Lacoste, which is close to Avignon et Apt. And my mother, she was an artist making sculptures. So my whole being brought up was very free, and my parents never wanted me to have a change of sex. They said, you have to be continue and you see what will develop. So which developed at the age of 11, which with normal people when you go into puberty. I got breasts, and I got my menstruation, and I had so it was clear that I was more female than man, but I really didn't want to be girl, sorry, because I saw all the the opportunities that you have as a guy being a boy. So and I was always fencing men. So the gay community, when we went to Amsterdam, my mother was deacon of the Rietveld Academy, which is the art academy in Amsterdam, and I was brought up in a milieu with lots of artists and people who made art. So yes, I didn't have to choose whether I would be a girl or a boy, but I saw that going to school and going to university, being male, got more opportunities. I could go easier to high-level education, get degrees, so on and so on. So at the age of 18, I studied medicine in Amsterdam for 4 years, and after that I did law, forensic psychiatry, and criminology. Then I went to the States because I lived for a while in New York, and there I became involved in the black activist gay community for the Martin X Foundation and the Hattrick Martin Institute, which is a school for LGBT youth in Manhattan. So I had a gay relation with as a boy, but I didn't totally have the body, well, not all the parts of a male. So that was very difficult being in a gay community, you know. Sometimes you're accepted sexually, sometimes not. And my boyfriend, I love him and very much, and, but I saw he was more gay than being into girls, so I left him. And I went back to Amsterdam, and there I started businesses. I've been involved in several big companies where I could be director. In 1997, I started up Tele 2. It's a telephone network company, and I was asked for because my graduations and other stuff, but because I was outstanding as a boy, you know, I was shaved bald and I was very gay, and so they liked it very much, and me and another gay friend, we could get just the best jobs ever, you know. And at a certain time, it was in 1997, I was director of TBWA in Amsterdam for data company. And then I thought, well, actually, I feel more happy when I do surgery. And the surgery, in that time, I was very secular Islamic, so I followed the real traditional laws of khunsa, which is khunsa is in the Quran, let's say hermaphrodite. You all know that? Interesting. Yes. And which is part of T, transgender, because you're gendering and you're transforming. The creation was done in the provision of Al-Azzah in Cairo, so I got a fatwa. I received a fatwa, and that was very special because it was you come in there, and I was like in my boyish gay how I looked, and after I was there with my father at that time, my Egyptian father, and after a week they decided, well, sexually we see you attract us, and it was a group of like 6 men with long beards and the whole thing, and they said you have to do a sex change, not even there is an option, you have to, because I attract men, because I was gay, of course. So I'm in that set of mind and being so much involved in my own ideas about Islam, I thought, okay, I follow that. So I went to the operation, which means for me that I was operated in the in a hospital which normally does not do these operations. In Amsterdam, there is one hospital which is the liberal hospital, the Vrije Universiteit, Vrije de Vue. But mine was done at the OLVG by an Islamic surgeon with an Islamic assistant, and it was all done, let's say, halal. About that, there was an article in the Dutch newspapers once, in the NRC, and I received quite some, let's say, aversion, oppression from the Islamic traditional people in the country where my mother comes from, Indonesia. It was spoken about very badly because it touches, let's say, if you change gender, only physical, I mean, wearing other clothes or taking other, well, if you just become a woman, you touch sort of boundaries, and those are the genetic boundaries of heteronormativity. So it makes you an outcast. And coming from a place where I was very accepted, getting the best job, having all, you know, I was all over a sudden very isolated, treated as someone who was not part of any organization. Before I used to work for the COC. I organized the communication management of the gay games in Amsterdam. So I did pretty much for the gay, let's say, the LGBT community. And I very much has to say that the T and the E are, I mean, they are all used, very nice, but they are not included. We are used very much for, for subsidiary funds. If you say you are an LGBT group, then you get more money. So it's mostly used as the T and the I are used for these kind of reasons. And when I found, let's say, the first meeting was with also a very secular group, more dogmatic. And I went to a trip in South Africa, and there I felt the, let's say, l'opposition. Donc, d'être pas en place.
Rejection.
Voilà. I was very rejected in my own Islamic gay community. Because they said I was not enemy, a betrayer. Because first of all, I was gay. I'm fancying men. I did an operation. Now I'm a total woman. I still fancy men. So it brings a lot of difficulties with it. And within that group, I found that the Imam, he said to me, "You are a betrayer." So I didn't really feel comfortable anymore with the real Islamic groups. So I took my ideas and I went back to my own sort of faith, which is basically Sufi Islam, and then the universal Sufi Islam. Here in Suresne, in Paris, we have a community, and we have a community in New Lebanon, where the family Khan gives all kinds of retreats, spiritual things, and they are very inclusive, meaning they want to have all religions taking part, non-religions, people who are Catholic or Jewish, Hindus, everything is sacrificed, and we have their, if we have, for example, séance. Aide-moi, séance. Séance. Donc, juste comme Juma. Voilà. We pray for all the religions. So we have all the books, and we pray for all of them, and everybody is included. And there is no sexual diversion. So we believe that God created mankind, and not women or male, which I also believe, and which I stand for, because I have been both. So I really know what it is. Yeah?
Je vais parler en français parce que...
Oui, bien sûr, bien sûr.
Alors, j'ai écouté un petit peu entre guillemets, le mot parcours que j'aime pas trop, mais le parcours personnel, qui est très intéressant par rapport à la législation française aujourd'hui, qui n'existe pratiquement pas vis-à-vis des intersexués, à savoir que par exemple, un enfant intersexué qui naît, ici en France, on va l'opérer tout de suite.
Exactement.
Sans lui laisser la chance de choisir son genre.
Oui, ça c'est vrai.
Nous nous battons, nous, l'AIT, sur ce point-là aussi, ça fait partie de nos revendications. Mais je dirais que c'est ce qui est merveilleux, en fait.
Oui, pour moi.
Pour toi.
Est-ce que je peux parler en français?
Can somebody translate?
J'ai des traductions quand même.
So basically, Emily, she said that in France at the moment, she thinks that Azzah's story about her life is quite extraordinary, because in France at the moment, when you are born, if you are born intersex, you don't have the choice because you are assigned a gender, if you like, almost immediately. So where experience or history is extraordinary is that she is able to develop the capacity to have a choice about how she identified or not. But in France at the moment, the law does not permit the choice. It's assigned, your gender is assigned at birth, basically.
So what they choose the women straight away.
C'est aléatoire.
Ouais, ouais.
C'est totalement aléatoire. C'est...
Assigned for you. Yeah. Yes.
No need for translation.
There is supposed to be a degree of medical evidence, allegedly, to determine that you may be a bit 51%, supposedly 51% male or 51% female, etc., etc. So, but the point is that it's a very sort of, it's a lottery.
Yeah,
Easy exchange, I think, certain Israel. What's easy to do, they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there is no computation, no?
Azzah, do you want to continue? And I think a couple of other people have questions too.
I will also answer that question, because in my situation, born in a Catholic cloistery, they gave me the male identity, because for adoption, people are more easily adopting a boy than a girl. So in my passport, I have been always male. Until today, my Dutch passport says male, but in December I will be female, because the court has accepted me as a woman, so I get my But I'm not totally happy with it, because I don't feel male, I don't feel female. So it's just a low thing, and you just have to have. It's easy. It makes traveling easier. Yeah. But I don't really feel very happy with it, because.
En fait, le genre est une conviction intime déjà, d'appartenir ou pas à un genre déterminé. C'est que le législateur essaie de nous dire tu es un homme, tu es une femme.
Exactement.
C'est pas terrible quand même. Que ce soit pour toi ou pour nous les transgenders, on vit la même chose. Ce genre de problème nous vivons aussi en France. Hein. Je veux dire, c'est terrifiant. Hein.
Je sais, parce que j'habite en France aussi.
Basically, it's tough, and it's tough in the sense of the law chooses for you.
Je crois qu'il est aussi très difficile de finalement de ne pas faire partie d'un sexe. Hein. C'est comme, je sais pas, parce que tu n'es pas finalement accepté aussi. Hein.
C'est pas du problème d'acceptation, c'est que en France, si tu veux, quand tu vis avec des papiers qui ne correspondent plus à ton genre apparent, au genre revendiqué, les problèmes commencent tout de suite. Hein. C'est l'emploi, c'est les administrations qui te pourrissent la vie.
So if you choose not to live with the identity that you were assigned, it creates a lot of problems for you in terms of your work, in terms of the way in which you choose to live your life, and that can be incredibly difficult and challenging.
She said, Emily, you said that having a gender is an intime conviction to be part of this or that gender. C'est une intime conviction pour toi.
Oui, bon, pour moi, je ne me suis jamais senti vraiment un garçon, malgré mon nom de famille. My family name is garçon, in English, boy.
His name is French, it's garçon. No?
Non. Mes parents s'appellent garçon.
Yes, he's a man. He was born as a boy and he also has a male.
A nice play on because she's transgender, but that was quite ironic, really, that her surname was boy.
Avec un mot pareil, il faut une certaine dose d'humour. En fait.
Yeah, I go back to Egypt because I want to explain you how that works in Islam. The whole gender changement, which is actually by law, so by fatwa, it's possible. And you see that in Iran, for example, already there are a lot of transgenders that can be operated under that fatwa, but also the intersex people, because we are known in the Quran. It's named. You know, I am existing in my own religion, so there I have a place. But in society, I don't. So that's very.
Le problème de l'Iran, c'est que on a tendance à dire à un homosexuel garçon, par exemple, il faut te faire opérer, sinon on te pend. Voilà. Donc, je ne suis pas convaincu, à titre personnel, que ces pauvres gens soient vraiment... c'est une condamnation à mort, de toute façon. Puisque pour moi, un garçon gay reste avant tout et surtout un homme. Une femme.
Donc, talking about the contradiction in the Iranian situation is about choice and the lack of choice about identifying, and if you the denial on the sexuality element is that you have to choose. That's really the contradiction. But you know, when you the notion of forced conversion, if you like, or you know, transgender, trans identity sort of adoption. It's because you are not allowed to be homosexual, so you have to choose to be
or a woman,
fit into a heteronormative sort of model that is more compatible.
Un homme reste un homme, quelle que soit son orientation sexuelle.
Because the Iranian law, they say that to be a gay, you have to be a woman. So they pay for you through the operation. If you don't want to be a woman, you have other choices to go to. They give you to change or to hang out. So by law and by Sharia, I think it's by the Sharia of the Shias that you don't have the choice between being gay. So gay for them is you have to be a woman, completely woman. And if you are a lesbian, you have to be a completely man. So you don't have the choice. The other choices you have is you have to go and kill me. That's it. I don't have another choice. So it's legal to be gay and to go to a doctor and help you to be or a man or a woman. That's the only choice.
Or you have to leave the country.
Or you have to leave the country, yeah.
C'est totalement inacceptable.
It's true, and it's happening in Beirut as well. So we have a lot of transsexual in Beirut because they're coming from a Shia family, and the only way to express themselves, they get a bit feminine and they are, they look gay. So it's easy for them to say, I am gay. So the family take them to a sheikh or something, and then they would send them straight away to Turkey or to Iran. So they do an operation paid by the Majlis. So everything is paid off, and they come back to Beirut. They are transsexual. The funny thing is, they are happy to be like that, but they take it to the extreme as well. So, and then you get confused. She's a woman, but she's not like a normal woman because she goes to extreme woman, and then you will see the extreme part, and then you see the society trying to push them away, and there will be the problem of Turkey. They will be in prison. They will be, having this harassment by the police and stuff like that, and we go to the same cycle, which is the Islam. By law, they are Islam, and the Islam pushed them to take this decision. So they are in the middle of: are we doing the law of the Sharia, or we are doing the law of the normal society? They are not. They are in the middle, and that's the big problem. And you can see a lot of death, lots of drugs, lots of prostitution, and all is going the same way. And there's no refugee. If they go to Turkey, it's impossible. If they go to Iran, because they did the operation in Iran, it's as well impossible. Then they are stuck in the middle. They take their passport, they stay in the houses, in safe houses, and that's our role to help them.
You mentioned something important that I wanted to ask you.
Sorry,
But I have to finish off and then So the situation for me was that I came in as a gay boy in that room, and after a week they just gave me this hijab and I had to go out, and I was female. So that's how it works in Islam. It's very easy. You're just immediately considered as a woman, and you have to be in the kitchen and no longer working, and you have to marry, and that's about it. So I followed that as well, being in a very liberated country, the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. I actually lived for 4 years enclosed in home. And I had a lot of domestic violence, and actually I'm pretty intelligent, as I might say, but that was taken up as well, like this, with that family, and the family came from Morocco, they were very traditional. The other problem was that I lived in a marriage with someone who was very in the public eye, so it could not be really open. If someone would notice my history, it would be a very big problem. So that stress made not only me, but I was actually in those 4 years I was going very deep into my religion and reading and thinking and so on. But my husband really totally got crazy and lost it. So the problem with it is that he was very self-destructive in a way, and I will not get too much into it because it is very private. But it made him very unhappy, and also because I adopted the kids, and they were also involved with it. It got one big drama. At the moment, it's still very much a big drama. So I choose to be going back to the family here in Paris. My kids are here in Paris and no longer in Amsterdam after last weekend, because there happened something in Amsterdam which again got so much publicity that I choose for the kids, because they wear the name of the fathers in their passport, and they were discriminated, calling names because of the father, not because of me, but because of the father. And as I am in the middle of a legal divorce, for a religious divorce, I already get married legally here in France, not on the base of, not in France, in Amsterdam, on the base of being still in the passport male. It's possible in Amsterdam to marry a man. And it's not considered legally a gay marriage, just a marriage, you know. So as soon as in December my identity is female, it's just a marriage. And the person I'm marrying to is also coming from my own background and my own family. There is a line which is de Riquet de Caraman de Chimay and de Riquet de Caraman de Mirabeau. They come from the Aix-en-Provence. So we're married together and following the tradition of the family that we are in. And that is a very special, noble family. So it's a very different story, but it shows that living as a transgender person and being open makes you very vulnerable, especially when you work. And I worked first, like in the media, in TBWA, I was kicked out because they said, well, if you go to do that operation, we just give you a big bag of money and you can do that, but we don't need a director who is transgender. So I was no longer there. And then after 4 years, I got back to the hospital world. I worked at the Lucas Andreas Hospitals in surgery. And I tried that for 2 years, and then there was so much discrimination amongst surgeons that I just thought to say, fuck you. And I went to psychiatry, and now I still work in Mentrum, which is the emergency unit, the crisis unit, and my specialization is youth and adolescents. And my main clientele is Islamic. 80% of the boys and the girls who are in the closed ward in Amsterdam are from an Islamic background, being Turkish or Moroccan. Some coming from the colonial Dutch countries. And my major, let's say, diagnoses are schizophrenia, bipolarity, manic depression, or borderline. And within the LGBT patient group, which I also have, sometimes we have transgender patients, and then I'm requested, because I'm a specialist somewhere about the issue, to be involved in that in the treatment, and it might be sometimes in the forensic enforcer, in forensic psychiatry, or in the Jelinek, which is the drug clinic, or in my own clinic, which is Mentrum. But it's all one sort of association in Amsterdam, which treats people with mental illness. But because of my I fight for the gender people, because I see that they are diagnosed immediately with something, and amongst my medical workers, I'm also diagnosed, because sometimes they just make funny jokes, like, you know, when I come in a meeting, they say like, oh, you're something like, you know, because I have a DSM classification as a transgender. It means that there is immediately, it is classified as borderline. So it means that if you are gay or lesbian, bisexual, and you get depression and you go to a psychiatrist, they immediately will diagnose you with borderline. That's the first thing. Then you get the medication. I fight always very much against that. And it's like fighting against les moulins de Don Quixote. It made me now come. First, I worked only 24 hours because I didn't want to work too much. Then they decided on the board level that they said, like, we have too much problems with you in the team, so we want you to work at night. So now I work 7 nights, and in the night you only work alone, so I don't have to go to mingle with any other psychiatrist or nurseries or anything else. I only bring out my reports from the night, and those are how do you say take-ins. Yeah, the patients come in crisis. So I mean, they're being brought in by police or by ambulance, or we go to the home where someone is trying to do suicide. We diagnose, we bring them in. I make the report, and that's about it. And they ask me to be very short and report very, especially when it's an Islamic person, not to involve the religion, because my therapies are going sometimes very into, let's talk about the religious part, but it has been requested by the hospital to not speak or help within the religion. So I'm sort of like cut off there as well. Working only at nights, it makes me, it's okay because I can still do very good things for people who come in crisis. For example, in the Netherlands, when you are brought into a psychiatric hospital, the lawyer has to decide if you will stay in the hospital for, let's say, half a year treatment, and this decision is actually made by my report. So I still can get some influence, and I speak my patients also, which is actually not officially done, but when they are having problems, I work together with one counselor of the city in Amsterdam, Fatima Elatik, which is a friend of mine. Most of the kids that come from, let's say, into the hospital, coming from the east of Amsterdam, and she's the mayor, deputy mayor. So we work very close, but that is only amongst, let's say, it's not in the real. Yeah, it's underground, actually. It's all underground, and we have to do that because there's just an exclusion, you know, against Islam. First, I also worked with hijab in the hospital, and I was not very accepted because they said, well, you attract all those Islamic people, and of course they want to talk to you, so now I'm coming like this. And, well, only my first name is Azzah, and I'll use now my name, Deriket, only. And it makes, it's the same, because Azzah is an Islamic name, so and when someone is psychotic and really in an isolation cell, and only speaking about Allah and only wants to kill himself, and I come there and I just sit with them, relax them, and explain the situation and what is going to be happening, you know, that I have to give them an injection and those kind of things. Only the word saying, for example, by giving the injection, Bismillah, gives a very good connection, which remains during the whole treatment. So, but psychiatrists, nurses, everybody, they really don't like this whole situation, and that you see in a country that is so liberated and so very open, and you can do everything what you want. The only thing which you cannot do is be religious. That's the problem. Yeah. Bien, c'est ça, c'est bien, c'est fait. Oui.
Thank you so much for that really, really inspiring story and your journey and how you've gotten to where you have to today. I think there's somebody I noticed there was a colleague who wanted to ask questions. So many, yeah. Well, you can have one.
May I ask one question before? Could you raise your hand if you don't want to be filmed at all?
No siempre.
No. Ah, okay. Okay. So, you? You?
He wants to be.
Okay.
So that's valid for pictures.
Azzah, juste une petite chose qui m'a interpellé dans ce que tu disais, c'est concernant le comportement des personnes, en fait. Et on voit bien la fainéantise de l'être humain, pour aller au plus court, en fait. Pourquoi se compliquer quand on peut faire... Tu vois ce que je veux dire?
Non, pas exactement. Explique-la.
Comment expliquer ça? Les gens, au lieu de chercher à comprendre la situation, vont aller sur leur raisonnement personnel sans chercher à aller voir plus loin, par fainéantise en fait.
Laziness. Laziness.
Ok.
Laziness.
Féminisme.
Non, fainéantise.
Laziness. Ils sont feignants.
Ça veut dire, au lieu de prendre ça, de le porter là-bas, voilà, fainéantise. Tu vois? Feignant, c'est non.
Lazy, lazy.
Plus, quoi. Pas envie de travailler, pas envie de faire l'effort. Voilà. Voilà. Pas envie de faire d'effort. Être feignant, c'est ne pas vouloir faire l'effort d'aller vers quelque chose, de faire quelque chose. Tu vois? Tu comprends?
They don't try to understand. It's too, yeah, they're too lazy, so they're just like, okay.
Yeah, so they dismiss because they try not to understand because they can't be bothered to understand, and so they.
But it's not only laziness; it's also because you work in a, let's say, in a medical section where are high field qualified people working, and they don't feel like too much troubles, you know. I'm a troublemaker, so then you are just not accepted, and that they want to have it all under control.
Yeah.
So that's more the issue. I think it's not laziness; it's just control. Emotionally patriarchal control.
Yes.
Yes. Medicine is
open.
May I just take your question here because
So, about the surgery thing, well, first of all, I would like to thank you for sharing your thought and your story. And you were saying that when you're born intersex, it's like a coin, that they decide, doctors, if you're a boy or a girl. But I've been told from the doctors that they have clear scientific or medical evidence that he's a boy or a girl. And yourself, you have yourself described as an intersex, but also as a transgender person.
And also as a gay.
And also as a gay. So how do you feel about this? Because I've also heard that you went to surgery because of religion, but I don't know if it was because of you, because you really want to go to surgery, because or it was just religion that...
It was first of all sexual, just to be honest, because if you are, let's say, I believe God created us with sexual needs, just spiritual sexual needs. So if you are having sex with men and you like that, and it also is because the men they feel attracted to you because you have some parts of a female, which are breasts and vagina, but the vagina is not deep enough, then you just wish to have it done. So that was my main reason, and it's very sexual, you know. I'm very open and liberated about it. But it also had a religious part at that moment, because I thought it was haram to be gay. Stupid enough. Yeah, I thought you know, I have lived 42 years in sodomy. I did the most horrible things, and I can clean myself with by this, and maybe I still can go to Jennah. So I did that also in that mindset. I did the operation. Coming back then in, let's say, violence domestique, sévère, donc not just. Et aussi psychologiquement, psychologically, it doesn't make you a happy woman. So there is the difference, you know. And whenever I go on the street, I know that there is attraction, you know. So it makes it very difficult for trans people. Because the only thing what people really see is like sex, and that's where you are mostly used for, being a sexual object. And I very much believe that I'm also a spiritual person, so that spiritual part is within the dogmatic Islam taken off. You know, it's not possible to be sexually attracted.
And if you had an intersex child and the doctor said, I suggest you to go surgery with this child, and because it's so clear, would you go surgery for your child? I mean, if your child...
No, and at the moment, let's say in Europe, and also in America, doctors don't operate that easily anymore. So that was maybe back in the days. In my situation, it was very, it was in a cluster with nuns. So and that was very in a city called Leiden, and they kept it very secretive. They were also veiled, very funny actually. But and I was adopted by a very free, open-minded family, aristocratic family, but also in a tradition of Freemasonry, which means open. There's no dogmas, no. And I just had that. No, it's not the luck. I just had Allah who gave me that life. So. And I can speak here, and I speak for other transgender people who struggle with feeling, having a relation with God, and also being questioning themselves. So I mostly counsel over the internet, but also with in New York I did it a lot with just youth, and mostly street youth, because they have the most biggest issues. You know, they walk on Christopher Street, they get into prostitution very easily, and I know that myself as well. I've been young. When I was 18, I did also all kind of things. So I know how easy it goes and how it works, and also how. But that's another theme. We come back to that. You know, how much diseases are involved with it. So. Yeah.
So I'm very, very curious from the religious perspective. Yeah. You know? So you said you were adopted by aristocratic families. So I'm assuming it's not Muslim. Yes.
Yes.
Not Muslim. But you are. Seems like you are really. You find yourself being very guilty as a Muslim, and you're talking about, oh, then hopefully if I do a sex change, I'll be accepted into heavens. And so it seems like that you are very bound by Islam, well, I should say the wrong interpretation of Islam, because like what you say, because in the Quran it specifically addresses intersex. So how did you become so chained by Islam?
Falling in love.
With the Orthodox.
Not with the wrong, but with someone who is very traditional migration family. And the problem with the migration family in the Netherlands is that they come just from, let's say, the countryside, and they are not the intellectuals. They come not from. So, and they came as workers, and they're not to blame. I mean, I'm not blaming people who have no background in their own belief, because they have not been brought up learning the Quran, for example. Let's say the mother of my ex-husband, she was very religious, but she couldn't speak Arabic. She couldn't read the Quran, but she was told to be and to live a certain way of life. So, and I also know the children of her also did those kind of things, but they all end up in being addicted, having bad relations, being violent. All these things come together. Coming from a migration pattern, Yeah, but it's the same pattern that I saw in the States, being black. Well, I'm considered black in the U.S. Or Hispanic, but anything but Anglo-Saxon. So, you know, then you just see the same things and the same oppression. And it all comes from patriarchal thinking and heteronormativity thinking.
I have a question for you. We have a question. First of all, I want to thank you for your support during all this time through social nets. Yeah, but my tone of voice is low by nature, so sorry. And listening to your story, I can't not avoid to think in the transgender in Argentina that just this year they get a law that recognizes identity like a right.
Yeah.
Not like something that you must ask to someone, judges or laws. It's a right. So they can just have their identity, this passport, in the identity they choose, and they even can change the birth certificate.
Yeah.
That give a lot of protection also for intersex babies that not to be operated until they decide.
Yeah.
Or until the biologically or medically they can receive a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot what we have to do still. And they say we have, even when I'm not in the case, because I believe that gender, the right of identity is something that also belongs to everyone, every human.
Yeah.
Okay, so our question is that being your story wonderful and difficult, where do you take your strength from?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Could you do it again?
Allah.
From where?
SVT.
It's your best support, your best force from Allah for all your life.
Petite phrase sur la question sur la loi argentine, justement.
Small question on the Argentinian law.
Alors, pour expliquer un petit peu la loi argentine et la 1728 en fait, qui sont sensiblement la même chose, il faut reprendre l'historique de toute cette loi en fait. Il faut commencer par les travaux de Yogyakarta en fait. Les travaux de Yogyakarta. Voilà. Donc, qui ont été les prémices, en fin de compte, aussi sur la question LGBT, mais surtout sur la question transgenre, effectivement, donc qui ont mis en place déjà un travail intéressant. Ensuite, nous avons Thomas Hammarberg, le haut commissaire aux droits humains européen, qui a fait des recommandations.
C'est difficile. So the Argentine laws are not always so easy. Emily wants to explain that the laws in Argentina were not so straightforward, that they were based on the Yoga Party principles from Indonesia. You said Indonesia? And it was a chap called Thomas. He's a European. Thomas Hammarberg is a human rights commissioner, I think, from Europe somewhere.
Donc, qui a fait des recommandations qui correspondent en fin de compte à la continuité de la résolution 1728-2010. Et l'Argentine, elle, en fait, a repris ces travaux-là et a fait son texte, mais qui est à peu près identique, en fait, qui est même un peu plus peaufiné, on va dire, plus fin.
So the Argentine has pretty much replicated the 2010 principles and adopted it into their statute almost identically.
But this year, for example, is there are people that obtain the ID for it's the procedure to obtain the ID for transgender is not difficult. During the last month, many people has access to obtain the ID just like any other citizen. Just have to ask. What takes a little more is the change of, for example, the birth certificate and that kind of thing. That takes a little more.
En France, on n'en est pas encore là.
Now the challenge for the Argentinian society beyond the law, and this is a challenge not only for LGBT groups, it's a challenge for all the society, is the challenge of inclusion, because sadly the most of transgender people work in prostitution. And they don't have access, for example, until the law, before the law, they don't have access to, for example, to be hired in a work or attend university. So the LGBT organizations are proposing to the parliament, to national parliament, to give a kind of financial support for the people who receive a benefit of the law and identity, so they can improve in some way. It's like a kind of reparation for the lack of opportunities that the state, the Argentinian state, keep them during all this time for not recognizing the right to identity. So, yeah, so they can have support in financial, so they can, for example, start an enterprise, or they can attend university and that kind of things. In Argentina, the issue about LGBT is not difficult. Even we have a very famous actress and advocate that is trans, and she is not operated, and she adopts kids and stuff. The problem comes in the for the people that have another factors of exclusion, like financial status, educational level, race, and immigration, and that kind of thing. And even when you don't need to change to make operation to have your identity, is because the operation is, you must pay it, so it's not for everyone, just for the people. So another of the challenge is to include the operation of changing of sex in the programs of the public health.
Okay. But to answer your question, I also want to thank you, because I worked with you together on certain cases in counseling people in, it was I think in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I think
several, yeah. And these counselings are mostly spiritual, but also in depressions, or when people actually are on the point of doing suicide. Those kind of things and I do that via the internet or via mail. And it shows that when you have laws who are doing everything, and when you have liberty and everything, there are still and something that has not to be missed out, the spiritual, the mindset. And that is the biggest problem in the LGBT and the T and the I community, because we face just a lot of exclusion and discrimination, only being, you know. So that is the biggest problem: the issue of depression, the issue of suicide, the issue of murder, because we do have the highest rate of murders. I think each year 800, 900 people get killed because they are transgender worldwide. And in Amsterdam, for example, we always have it's not a celebration, but a memorial to memorize all those people. But it is a big issue, and it's not a number of only getting murdered, but also about suicide. So it's a total figure of the problem, actually.
Yeah, just one question. You said you have like kind of confusion between your gender like are you male, female, whatever, does that affect your relation with your kids, or how you want your kids to see you? Or you keep the choice for them to choose the way they want to see you, as your family give you the choice to choose which, you know, gender you want to be. Does that, how that relation is going? Especially it was in a kind of officially a gay marriage, then you went now to a straight kind of marriage.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, if you want to put yourself for the kids first, how the way they want to see as a family, and are they a Muslim family, you know, or they are as well a choice to be whatever they want to be?
Yeah. First, it was, of course, very Muslim, traditional Moroccan, immigrants. We lived in with the family. So they had a lot of problems. And my youngest one, who was 3 years old, through all the media and all the things he saw about his father, he got very psychiatric problems, and the reason for not living anymore in Amsterdam for them is because he was going back in a regression and being also showing the same things as his father did, aggressive against the kids at school, knocking people down, hitting me, you know, this kind of stuff. They never saw me as something else as their mother, because that is my energy. I mean, I have a female energy, and I know that. I cannot just hide that. I've never had a boyish energy. Also, when I was a boy, but I just always say it is not important, you know, because it's just your energy, your rahma, you know, when you are religious. And if you bring that, which is being brought, which I believe by Allah, and you show that, that is okay. And if you are a gay boy and you have a very female energy, so that is your rahma. So, you know, that's how I try to do it with my kids as well. And my youngest boy, he loves to play with dolls and makeup. And one is doing football and karate. So, you know, and the girl is doing ballet and horse riding. So she, you know, I don't label. I don't want to label, because I know already by myself that is having hurt myself so much in life. I don't want to label my kids, but I know that they are labeled by society. So that is, and the seclusion. The lucky thing is that we here in France, we can live special because we have a very special family. And that is tricky, of course, because the real world is not like that. You know, you can live here where we live very chic and not involved in the community. And you can live there until you're 80 or 90 and never been in the world. Yeah. That is actually what I've seen with my mother and all the ancestors. They always lived as a comte et, how do you say that in English? Earls or prince and the princess. And that is possible, of course. And also that's in my passport, illegally. Comtesse de... So I can live very, you know, but I also choose to stand in society, because I know that that's also my duty in my religion, to help people, not by just living my own little sweet life, but I have an obligation towards my Creator, and I have a call in my life, in society. So that's why I do the work I do, and that's why I help people who have problems with their belief and with their sexual identity.
we can stop for a moment and we can restart with other questions.
Just the last question, because I think I learned something special. I ignore it because and I think it's very special when you talk about that when you went to Egypt, they made a fatwa, and it was easy. And they use the Quran. I don't know how to do these ceremonial events. And I remember when I was a child, about 14 years old, I was, my mother and my older sister was talking about a woman in the neighborhood who is also but she lived in that time as a woman, and nobody talk about that. And I didn't understand at the age what they're talking about. What is that? Two sex, you know? And when my mother saw me listening, she said, "You have to leave it. Don't listen. Go away," you know. But later I saw and I read about these stuff, you know, and I wonder if the Muslim community can do something and similar, very easy as you describe it. Is it known among the Muslim society? Because that is a big issue. I think people who have two sex living in the Islamic country don't know about that.
True. And anything, and that's true what Emir says, within Islam, and if you say Islam, to me Islam doesn't exist. I mean, there are thousands ways of Islam, and everybody has his own Islam, you know, exactly. So that's my truth. But sex in general is already an issue.
Yeah.
So, and it is a taboo. So everything which is beyond that is even a bigger problem.
Yeah, but as you describe it, is no taboo anymore, and the religion part of the Islamic community know about it, and they can do a ceremony or something like that.
Yeah, but that's on the high level, so it means Al-Azhar is really, let's say, the highest rank.
Yeah. But we need to take away that.
Yeah.
We need to take away that power.
Absolutely.
And we need to empower ourselves. And so, for me as a Muslim, you know, addressing that situation, it's really important that we educate Muslims. And that's the problem that we're not doing, is educating Muslims about what you're saying. Your identity is in the Quran, so what's a bloody problem, you know? Enough.
Yeah.
I really have to stop the discussion. Sorry. Now we are quite to go to the lunch, but before we'd like to share our impression, our ideas, and we'd like to collect our ideas on the paper. So if you want to express an idea, a word, what do you want?